What is going on, everyone? I am Mike. Welcome back to Tech 24/7 TV. I am so glad that you are back with me today because we are talking about the 2021 iPad Pro. Apple announced several new features that are coming to both the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which is nothing short of exciting and, to some degree, impressive. Now, that's because the features that are being released for the iPad Pro not only change how you work on your iPad, but they also change what type of work you can accomplish on your iPad. And by extension, this changes the trajectory for the iPad Pro and the future of computing as we know it. Now, if you're anything like me, you might be wondering to yourself, do I really need to buy the 2021 iPad Pro? Now, that's a very reasonable question to be asking because you probably already own an iPad Pro. It might be a 2018 iPad Pro, it could be a 2020. Maybe this is even your first foray, dipping your toe in the water, so to speak, of using an iPad Pro. Either way, you're in the right place because in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you should purchase the iPad Pro. And at the end of the video, I will share my framework with you to help you with your purchase decision. Now, let's get started. You can use any number of words to describe the iPad Pro. It could be overkill, be expensive, but if there's one thing that I think you and I agree on, it is without a doubt a capable computing platform. Apple is pushing the boundaries of that platform more so this year than any other year by introducing several new features that are consistent across the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Now, I truly believe that these features underscore the iPad Pro's capability and frames for us how Apple perceives the future of the iPad Pro. First, there's the addition of Thunderbolt 4 connectivity. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably own several of these peripherals, whether it's a monitor, a dock, portable SSDs, that you wish you could use with your iPad. Now, I did review the OWC Thunderbolt 4 dock, which I'll put a link in the description somewhere right above here. In that card, if you want to check that out, you certainly can. Now, that's because these accessories empower you as an individual to accomplish workflows that are complex in both breadth and depth. If you're unfamiliar with Thunderbolt, this is an enablement technology capable of delivering 40 gigabits per second data throughput, meaning that it has enough bandwidth for the Pro Display XDR while simultaneously enabling blazing fast read-write speeds on an NVMe SSD, all while using a single cable to communicate to your device, and it's going to charge it too. Really, it is a nerd's dream for single cable design. Now, I don't know about you, but I would certainly call that capable. Apple flipped the script on this year by shifting from what was the annually incremented A-series chipset, often supercharged for the iPad Pro, to the design to run macOS on its laptop and desktop machine M-series chip. It is kind of crazy to think that the same chipset that runs on the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the Mac Mini, even the new 24-inch iMac is going to be running on the new 2021 iPad Pro. Now, at the core of the M1 chip, you are going to find the 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 16-core neural engine. That is the heart of everything. While I can't comment specifically on the performance of the new 2021 iPad Pro because obviously I don't have it, make sure you click subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to see that full review. But if the results are anything like what I've seen on the 13-inch MacBook Pro or even the Mac Mini, I'm going to be more than pleasantly surprised because I've been blown away with the price-performance ratio and the thermal performance on each of those devices. It is insane. Compounded on top of the Thunderbolt 4 and the M1 chip, you are getting 5G radio access, which is, I think, a real game changer for a lot of people, including myself. Now, you might be shrugging your shoulders and thinking, Mike, who needs 5G? The coverage is spotty at best. Well, you're not buying your iPad to only have it for 1 year. You might be keeping it 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And this is capable of accessing both the sub 6 gigahertz band as well as the ever elusive, sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, millimeter wave. Price tag to add 5G to your iPad Pro is no laughing matter because you have a device that starts at $799 for the 11-inch and $1099 for the 12.9-inch. And $200 to add that is a significant amount of money. Doesn't matter who you are. Now, in my opinion, it's always better to spend money up front and get 5G for 2 reasons. One is going to be resale value. Your iPad Pro is going to have more resale value in comparison to the sea of other devices that are going to be Wi-Fi only because many, if not most people, only buy Wi-Fi iPads. So when you go to resell it, you should be able to recapture much more money than what you would expect from someone who only has a Wi-Fi device. That's been my experience anecdotally as I sell all my devices on sites like Swappa and eBay. Second, your use cases might change in 12 months, 24 months. Obviously, none of us can expect that we were going to be sitting at home for the past 12 months, but I can tell you that is a good option to have, especially as most carriers really charge us a small access fee, at least here in the US, to have access to 5G. We've learned anything throughout the pandemic. It's going to be 2 things. 1, face-to-face meetings are here to stay and they're part of the new normal. And 2, that taking FaceTime calls, video calls on the iPad is really a subpar experience. That's going to be for 2 reasons. It's where you have your iPad when you are doing FaceTime. Your desk, it's pointed like at a 45-degree angle, pointing up. You get that unflattering angle. It doesn't look good. And 2, because of where Apple chooses to place the camera at the top center of the iPad when it is in portrait mode. In landscape mode, it's just kind of this weird offset angle. Let's say hello to Center Stage. This is a new feature that Apple's bringing to the iPad Pro. And Center Stage is a feature that uses combination of hardware, which is going to be the new 12 megapixel camera, and AI to better frame you as an individual in the center of the frame for video calls. Now, this is just not exclusive to FaceTime. It is going to work with any software that takes advantage of the APIs that Apple is publishing. I simply cannot end this video without talking about which I think is the single greatest feature coming to the iPad Pro, though it is exclusive to the 12.9 inch. This is the Super Retina XDR display, and it is kind of like a little cousin to the Pro Display XDR in both name and functionality. Now, there are 10,000 mini LEDs that are across the display that are giving you better contrast, better brightness, allowing for HDR workflows. Technology enables 1,000,000:1 high contrast ratios, along with 1,600 nits of peak brightness and 1,000 nits of brightness for everything else. Now, to put this in context, this number, 1,600 nits, it sounds like a bright number, right? But you are getting 600 nits of peak brightness on the iPad Pro today for all, across the board. It doesn't matter if you're doing an HDR workflow or not. So this is allowing the display to go ahead and ramp up brightness for certain types of use cases when it sees that content is present. It's actually kind of amazing that they're getting this into the iPad Pro. That is not to say that the display on the 11-inch iPad Pro is hot garbage and you shouldn't purchase it. I'm actually saying just the opposite. It's explicitly calling out that the intended use cases for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is really centered around HDR workflows that require that high type of brightness, and it really isn't going to be something that I think most people will require in their day-to-day usage. Now, if you don't mind spending the extra money, I would say it's a nice to have, but certainly not a requirement for most people. Now, at the end of the day, pre-orders start on Friday, April 30th, which is just a few days away, and you need to ask yourself, do I need to purchase the 2021 iPad Pro? I would ask myself a few questions, and this is the same framework I'm going to use to go ahead and figure that out. First, I'm going to ask myself, how are my use cases, how are my workflows impacted by upgrading to this device? Maybe I will need to purchase new accessories, such as new peripherals, new SSDs, and maybe I want to get a new monitor. And obviously, that is a lot to take in at upgrading to the new iPad Pro because of the cost component that is associated with that. Second, how my workflows are limited today. Maybe I need to have a workflow that requires some type of interoperability between having my desktop workflow and my mobile workflow, where I need this type of tool in my tool belt, because really at the end of the day, the iPad is a tool to help you create and perform meaningful work, is why then you would choose that. And then 3, I would say, is where does this fit into my workflow? Is this something I'm going to use as a single device? Is this something that I'm going to use in conjunction with another device? Because the play between both an iPad and your Mac, the iPad and a MacBook Pro, whatever the case is, will be important as this iPad begins to take shape into, again, more of a device that is meant for, say, prosumers at this kind of feature set. Now, you might have another use case where you need Sidecar to be supported, and it would only help having that bright display if you were editing photos and video. Now, I would love to know what you are going to go ahead and do with pre-orders. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you getting the 11-inch, the 12.9-inch? And if you are, what configuration are you getting? Maybe you're even holding off. I am Mike. This is Tech 24/7 TV. Folks, I will talk to you in the next one.